All right, everybody, welcome, welcome. Glad you're here for a little more Hebrew and Arabic. And hard to believe we're at lesson 8 already. We've been really making some good progress here. So, really happy that you're with me. Pardon me. And yeah, tonight we're going to make some progress. The sample sentence that I put on the screen here, this is my house. And that's really just an illustration of what we're going to be doing. All right, Erev Tov, Jank, Erev Tov. All right. Let's see. Well, hey, let's get right to it. No sense in dilly-dallying. And just want to make sure everything's looking good here. Okay, so we're going to do a little review to start off. And so the first thing we're going to do is say, I am here. I am here. And whoops, let's see. You know what? We're going to have to move this over. I thought I had everything set up. And we're going to get me out of here. There we go. And we got to get the chat out of here. We're going to have to shrink that down a bit. Hopefully that helps. Okay, yeah, with this thing we need the whole screen, so hopefully that does the trick. All right, so here we go. So in Hebrew, we've got ani po, ani po. So ani means I. That's the the analysis we would give it is the first common singular independent pronoun. It's a subject pronoun. Okay. First common singular independent pronoun. And we say that it's common and singular because it's singular, meaning that it only refers to one person. But it is common in that it is common to all genders or both genders. Okay. So, yeah, first common singular. All right. And so that means I. And then po means here. Ani po. I am here. So we're pretty familiar with that. So next we go into Arabic. Okay. In Arabic, and we have ana hon. And we said that that ana is the first common singular, independent pronoun. Okay. And just like Hebrew ani, so they're very similar in that regard. Okay. And hon means here. Okay. Hon means here. All right. So ani po in Hebrew, anahon in Arabic. All right. Let's go to the next one. Now, do you remember how to say lives? Lives. How would we say lives in the masculine singular? In the masculine singular. Okay. Give you a second there to go put it in the chat. All right, so lives in Hebrew and in Arabic. In Hebrew, we have gar, gar. Okay. We said that's a biblical Hebrew participle, but the participle functions as a present tense, and Jank got it there. Awesome. All right, so gar is the masculine singular word for live or lives. Yeah, and so you get the root yud shin beit in Hebrew, as Jenk points out in the chat, and that's right, absolutely. And you'll see that word used in modern Hebrew as well, but there's not a one-to-one correspondence between them. Yep. All right, very good. And then, of course, in Arabic, Levantine Arabic, to be specific, we have sakin. Sakin. Okay. All right. So if we wanted to say, I live here, I live here, try to think of it in both languages. I live here. While I move this around. Okay. I live here. And in Hebrew, we have ani, ga, po. Ani, ga, po. And in Arabic, we have ana, sakin, hon. Ana, sakin, hon. Okay, good. Ani, ga, po. Ana, sakin, hon. All right, now, how would we say lives in the feminine singular? In the feminine singular. So think about Think about what we have to do there to put it into the feminine singular. Spanish can help you out there a little bit because both of these languages are similar in this respect. Okay, so in Arabic, sakin becomes sakne. Sakne. Okay. And in Hebrew, we have ga becoming gara. Ga becoming gara. So sakne in Arabic, sakin becomes sakne, and ga becomes gara in Hebrew. Okay. All right. Now, how would we say I live here? Or how would a female say, to be specific, how would a female say I live here? I live here. I live here. So in Hebrew, we have ani gara po, ani gara po. And in Arabic, we'd have ana sakne hon, ana sakne hon. Okay, ani gara po in Hebrew, and ana sakne hon in Arabic. Okay. Now, where do you live? So now we have to go way back into the recesses of our minds here. I think this goes back to maybe lesson 1. I can't even remember when we did the word where, when we introduced that, but I think it might have been lesson 1. If not, I think it was lesson 2. So how would we say, where do you live? What is the word for where? And then, what are the respective words for you in the masculine singular of Hebrew and Arabic? Okay. All right. So starting with Hebrew, we have Efo ata gar. Efo, where, right? And we said that the last 2 letters, the pe and the he, in Efo is, resembles the word po. Okay. Efo ata gar. Where do you live? Where do you live? Okay. And then in Arabic, it's not Efo, it's when. When. So when inta sakin. When inta sakin. Where do you live? Okay, when inta sakin. So ata is the Hebrew masculine singular pronoun, meaning you, and inta in Levantine Arabic is you. All right, now let's go to where do you live in the feminine. So how would you say that? So we just learned that efo is where in Hebrew, and efo is where in Hebrew, and wain is where in Arabic. My mind's all discombobulated today because I spent a lot of the day not only doing Arabic, but working on Chaldean, which is a modern Aramaic dialect. And I'm going to be starting a series on that probably tomorrow, which is going to accompany my new biblical Aramaic series. So I've got a lot of stuff in the works. And between Chaldean Aramaic, Syriac, biblical Aramaic, and then the usual Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic, or Hebrew, Greek, and Arabic, my mind is a little bit confused these days. But shalom, shalom, Angela. Glad you're here. Glad you're here. All right. So where do you live? Okay. Where do you live for a female? We said in Hebrew that's going to be efo at gara. Efo at gara. Efo at gara. And in Arabic, it's going to be wain inti sakne. Wain inti sakne. Okay, so in the masculine singular in Arabic, it's wain inta sakin, and wain inti sakne in the feminine. And then in Hebrew, the masculine will be efo atagar, and in the feminine, efo atgara. Okay, good. All right, now how about she lives in Jerusalem? She lives in Jerusalem. think we did this in our last lesson. Okay, so she lives in Jerusalem. So let's start with she. In Hebrew, it's going to be he. He means she. And in Arabic, she is going to be either he or hiye in Levantine Arabic. He or hiye. Okay. So let's start with the Hebrew. He gara birushalayim. He gara birushalayim. So he means she. Gara is the feminine singular present tense, meaning lives. Ba at the beginning of Birushalayim means in, and Yerushalayim means Jerusalem. Okay. Generally speaking, not in every case, but in many cases, Hebrew proper nouns, names of places, names of people, if they begin with the Hebrew letter Yud, it comes into English as a J. Okay. Jesus is just one example. Jerusalem is another. Josiah, Jeremiah. Okay. All right. So he gara birushalayim, and he sakne bil Quds. Bil Quds. So in the Arabic there, b means in. Il means, sorry, I'm bringing my cursor over there. So b means in. Il means the. And Quds with that glottal K sound or glottal Q, however you want to think of it, okay, means Jerusalem. Il-Quds is Jerusalem. Okay, there's Il-Quds University in Jerusalem, which means Jerusalem University. Okay. All right, yalla, let's go. Let's do some more. Okay. So now how would we say in the feminine, you, and this is in the feminine singular, you live in Jerusalem? So basically we take those sentences that we just did. All right, trust and obey, shalom, shalom, baruch haba. Okay. And you live in Jerusalem, feminine singular. Okay. In Hebrew, we have at gara birushalayim. At gara birushalayim, you live in Jerusalem. And in Arabic, inti sakne bil Quds. Inti sakne bil Quds. Inti sakne bil Quds. Excellent job, Jank. I see it in the, yep, at gara birushalayim. Good. And now, how would a female say, I live in Jerusalem? How would a female say, I live in Jerusalem? Everybody's doing a great job so far. All right. And start with the Arabic this time. Ana sakne bil Quds. Ana means I, both for males and females. Ana sakne, that's the feminine. And bil Quds, in Jerusalem. Ana sakne bil Quds. And then in Hebrew, we have Ani gara birushalayim. Ani gara birushalayim. All right, now let's put it in the masculine. Okay. And we'll be done with the review sentences soon, and then we're going to build upon it. Okay. Start doing longer and longer sentences. All right, how would a male say, I live in Jerusalem? I live in Jerusalem. Starting in Arabic, it would be Ana sakin bil Quds. Ana sakin bil Quds. Ana sakin bil Quds. In Hebrew, Ani gar birushalayim. Ani gar birushalayim. Okay. Yes, so we've got a comment here. Thank you so much. All right. So, Herman, excellent question. In the grammars, yes, you will find that participles. So what we're looking at here with this word, and so the word gar in Hebrew is technically a hollow verb. And what a hollow verb is in Semitic languages, most verbs have 3 root consonants. 3 root consonants. Gar is, properly speaking, gimel resh. It's biconsonantal, which is why we call it a hollow verb. Okay. Now, in the grammars, you will find that originally the participle, the biblical Hebrew participle, is accented with hollow verbs in this particular stem on the final syllable. But and you can find instances of this, like even when the New Testament is read in modern Israeli Hebrew, you will hear the stress on the final syllable. Okay, people who have lived some time ago in Israel will also say this, but the way it's pronounced today is with a retraction of stress. So in the feminine singular, instead of gara, okay, it's gara. So properly speaking, they're both correct. It's just a matter of what you're trying to accomplish. Or are we speaking the Hebrew on the street, or stuff that's grammatically proper? But Hebrew's an evolving language. If you remind me later, maybe at the end of the broadcast, I'll make a note to myself, and we'll give you guys, I'll give you a little bibliography if you want to read, and just supply you with some stuff. And we'll look at it. We can even take a look in the Bible too, in the Hebrew scriptures, look at some feminine singular participles. Okay. But yeah, in the way Hebrew is spoken today in Israel, gara would be a feminine singular past tense, third feminine singular past tense. So excellent question. All right. So now we go to you live in Jerusalem, which, well, I think, didn't we do that before? Maybe we did. Maybe this is a duplicate. Well, it's good review, right? All right. So at gara b'Yerushalayim in Hebrew, and intisakne bilkutz. Intisakne bilkutz. Okay, you live in Jerusalem, masculine singular now. Ata gar b'Yerushalayim, and intisakin bilkutz. All right. She lives in Jerusalem. He yesakne bilkutz in Arabic. He yesakne bilkutz. And in Hebrew, he gara b'Yerushalayim. He gara b'Yerushalayim. And I'm just thinking about Herman's comment. One of the things that when I teach biblical Aramaic online, and you can see this in the comments to some of my videos, when I'm teaching biblical Aramaic, reading right out of the Hebrew Bible, which has an accent system, right? They use the cantillation marks, and it tells us exactly where the stress goes. There are people who will write in and say that I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. And these tend to be people who either speak or study Syriac or modern Eastern Aramaic, like Assyrian, Chaldean. And so one of the things that you will find is that in Syriac and Chaldean there is a retraction of stress, just like we were talking about with, what was it? Gara, right? Whereas in biblical Aramaic, the accent system often stresses something, puts the stress, on the final syllable. So an example would be in, Assyrian or Chaldean. You could say, this is modern Neo-Aramaic, we would say, to say good evening, like Jenk said before, Erev Tov, in Chaldean Aramaic, it's Ramsha Tava. Ramsha Tava. And if you can hear that, Ramsha Tava. And so the stress is on the first syllable of both words. Ramsha Tava. Okay? Whereas in biblical Hebrew, a similar phrase or phrases like that, the stress would go on the end, Ramsha Tava. Okay? And that's how it is. Language evolves and it develops in different places and different times. And that's the fun part, one of the fun parts of language. So Great question. Thanks for asking that. And that's a good promo for my my Chaldean course, which is going to be starting up, Neo-Aramaic. So if you actually want to speak living Aramaic, we're going to do it. Okay. All right, here we go. So he lives in Jerusalem. He lives in Jerusalem. So how do we say he? Well, in Hebrew it's going to be who, and in Arabic huwe. Sometimes who as well, but you can also say huwe. So Hebrew is huga b'Yerushalayim, huga b'Yerushalayim, and in Arabic huwe sakin bilquds, huwe sakin bilquds, huga b'Yerushalayim, huwe sakin bilquds. Oops. Blank slide there. All right, now we're going to learn some new vocab here. Time to learn some new vocab. Echad viewers, but only shesh. All right. So, how to say sun in Hebrew? Let's see, like Echad viewers, but only shesh. Oh yeah, we got 5 concurrent viewers right now. That's awesome. 22 people have checked into the broadcast, which is great. We tend to get like 5 or 6 at a time. Sometimes at our high point, we might go 9 or 10. But yeah, trying to get the word out for sure. And this is probably a great time for those who are chiming in. Very much appreciate super chats, and so anybody who's willing, we're trying to get 5 for this broadcast of any amount, even the lowest denomination. Would really appreciate that. And be sure to check out the Patreon channel. So all of these broadcasts that I do live on YouTube, the short version, I usually do like a 12-minute version that I post on YouTube for free afterwards for everybody to view. And then the full version is available for my Patreon subscribers. And yeah, we're cranking it out, All right, so here we go. And Angela is correct. It is Ben. Okay. Ben. And that means son. In Arabic, ibn. The alif at the beginning and the I vowel that goes with it is not really a part of the word. That's a prosthetic vowel, okay? And it is just added to facilitate pronunciation. But ibn. Okay? So ben in Hebrew, ibn in Arabic. You can see the relationship there. Ben, ibn. Okay, now how would we say my son? So this is one of the new grammar points for tonight. In Hebrew, we said that the word I, the first person independent subject pronoun, Hey, all right. Michelle Bar I think I know who that is that just chimed in the chat. That's awesome. Welcome. All right. So we were saying earlier, like when we said I live in Jerusalem, in Hebrew it's ani ga, or if you're female, ani gara b'Yerushalayim. But ani is the subject pronoun. When you want to say I as the subject of the sentence in Hebrew, it's ani. But if you want to say my as a possessive, you take that E sound off ani and you throw it on the end of the word, and you end up with haben sheli. So Jenk, in the end, in biblical Hebrew, that would have been the norm. Modern Hebrew goes a step further, and it has a more circuitous way of doing it, which is haben sheli, which is literally the son which is to me. All right, so haben means the son. Ha is the, ben is son. She means which, relative pronoun. Le is that preposition that we learned meaning to, right? Like in yesh li, remember that one, yesh li? And then the E is my. So literally, when you want to say my son in modern Hebrew, it's the son which is to me. But this is just a normal construction, and we tend to think, most people tend to think of shel as just meaning of. So that's why, like, when I transliterate it, or when I translate it literally, I would say the son of me rather than the son which is to me. But haben sheli, haben sheli. So anything that is that you want to say my whatever, you just add sheli afterwards. So think about the word book, right? We learned the word book, gratuitous self-promotion for Dr. Dost's Jesus' Bible, A Concise History of the Hebrew Scriptures. Check it out on Amazon. Okay. If we wanted to say my book, what we'd really be saying is the book of me, or the book which is to me. And that would be, Cenk, do you want to try it? This is a harder one here, but just follow the model. Follow the model. My book, literally the book which is to me, and it would be Ha Sefer Sheli. Ha Sefer Sheli. Ha Sefer Sheli. Ha Sefer Sheli. The book which is to me. If you wanted to say my computer, Ha Machshev. Machshev means computer. Ha Machshev Sheli. The computer which is to me. Ha Machshev Sheli. Okay? So my son is Haben Sheli. Haben Sheli. Okay? Now in Arabic functions more, that's right, Ha Sefer Sheli, there it is. All right, great job, Cenk. And so in Arabic, Arabic is going to function more like biblical Hebrew does most of the time, okay? And we would just take the word ibn for son, ibn, and we would attach the e and it becomes ibni. Ibni. Ibni, okay? So in Hebrew, haben sheli, the son of me, and in Arabic just ibni. But you see that there's a connection between Hebrew and Arabic here, that they both do the possessive with e at the end, okay? Now, Arabic, Levantine Arabic actually has a word like shell, okay, which is taba, but we're not going to deal with that right now because it's not used to nearly the same degree that shell is. So we're going to leave that alone for now, okay? So, haben sheli ibni, okay? Now, how would we say, now you got to really think, how would we say my son lives here? My son lives here. Okay, and I want you to think about it in Hebrew first. So we just learned how to say my son, right? The son of me, the son of me. And then we need the masculine singular form for lives, the masculine singular form for lives, and then the word for here, okay? The son of me lives here is how we would say in Hebrew, my son lives here, okay? Haben sheli galpo. Haben sheli galpo. Haben means the son. Sheli means of. Ga means lives in the masculine singular, right? And po means here. Haben sheli galpo. Haben sheli galpo. All right. Mitsuyan, excellent. Excellent, excellent. Good job, Angela, there. Pharaoh ha'eved sheli. Very good. Pharaoh, my servant. Excellent. Paro, that's how you'd say it in Hebrew. Paro ha'eved sheli. Pharaoh, my servant. Good job, Cenk. All right, now, how would we say my son lives here in Arabic? How do we say my son lives here in Arabic? Okay. So again, we're going to need the masculine singular form of the verb because the subject is son. Son. Doesn't matter if a woman is speaking or a man is speaking, because son is technically the subject, the verb has to be masculine. And the answer is Ibni Sakinhon. Ibni, my son, literally son of me. Ibni, Sakin, lives, and then hon, here. Ibni Sakinhon. Ibni Sakinhon. All right. Any questions before I press on? We definitely have more slides to go still, but I figured we'd pause and see if anybody has has any questions to ask, great time to, as usual, plead for supers. Looking to get 5 for the broadcast. So anybody who feels like helping out there, much appreciated. Okay. Ibni Sakinhon. Ibni Sakinhon. Okay, my son lives here. Haben Shili Galpo. Haben Shili Galpo. And Ibni Sakinhon. Ibni Sakinhon. All right, now, in my house. In my house. So we got some, a new word here. I don't think we've learned the word for house yet. I think we did that in our straight up Hebrew course, but not in the combined Hebrew Arabic course that we're doing right now. Okay. All right. So in my house, how do we say that? Well, the first line here, let me come over here. Okay. You can read that it says babayit sheli. I put the transliteration down here. Babayit sheli. Babayit sheli. Okay. And I actually left something out here. I made a mistake when I typed this out. So I'll correct this now for you so you can put it in your notes anyway. So babayit sheli is ba, which means in. What I left out here is that the next component is the definite article, which is the letter hey with an a vowel, like bi ha. That means in the. Okay, in the. But when you combine a preposition like ba and the definite article follows it, bi ha just becomes ba, like we have up here. So we've got the ba from the preposition, but the ah from the definite article. And that means in the. Ba means in the. Ba bayit. In the house. Ba in the bayit house. In the house. Ba bayit sheli. Oh, wait, we've seen that already, right? Because my son was haben sheli. Haben sheli. Okay. Here it's babayit sheli, in the house of me. Babayit sheli. Okay. And sheli, of course, is shell, which literally means which is to, but we're just going to say of for convenience sake. And e, the suffix e meaning my. So babayit sheli, in my house. In my house. Okay. All right, now, in Arabic, I know the Arabic, it looks very hard to read for new readers anyway, right? Okay, so what's going on here? Bibeti, bibeti, okay? Bibeti or fibeti. You can say the word fi instead of ba in Levantine Arabic, but we'll just do ba for now. Okay, so ba means in. So wait, just like in Hebrew. So Hebrew and Arabic both use the preposition ba, meaning in. Okay. All right. And then bait. Okay, before I press on, I see Herman's question here, but sometimes it is ba instead of ba. Yeah, so there are going to be a few exceptions to what I say here, but the general rule is that when you have ba with the schwa, it means in or in a. If the with the noun that follows it, in or in a whatever, in an whatever. Okay, ba is almost always going to mean in the. There are some word environment issues which would probably be just too much for right now, but if you're familiar with how gutturals work in Hebrew, that's going to make things a little bit more messy schmessy there. So that's part of the issue. But generally speaking, yes, ba means in the, whereas b means in or in a, whatever it is. Okay. All right. So b in Arabic means in. Beit means house, just like, like bayit in Hebrew. Beit is actually a Hebrew word too, another form of house, but bibeit, and then e in Arabic means my, just like in Hebrew. Bibeiti, bibeiti, bibeiti. So Hebrew is, well, let me bring the Hebrew up. Hebrew is babayit sheli, Arabic is bibeti. But they're not all that different. They're not all that different. And the Arabic is actually helpful to know because this is how biblical Hebrew tends to form such expressions. Biblical Hebrew, in this respect, is more similar to Arabic than it is to modern Hebrew. And I'll say that again. Biblical Hebrew, in this respect, is more akin to Levantine Arabic than it is to modern Hebrew. Okay? And that's just because Hebrew has evolved in the way it did. That's just how it goes. Okay, now, so bibeti babayit sheli, in my house. Now, how would we say with me? All right. Well, with me, the me is also going to involve that suffix e, okay? Because it's added to a preposition. So if you want to say with me in modern Hebrew, I thought sounds like e as in egg. Yeah, so Angela, good point. You know, how is it pronounced? Schwa. So schwa, when it is written in biblical Hebrew, is sometimes to be pronounced as a highly reduced vowel, kind of like okay? Other times it represents zero, that is to say no sound whatsoever. Okay? That's for another time. We're going to save that for our biblical Hebrew course. Yeah, in modern Hebrew, it's schwa is generally not pronounced. Like when you think of the word egg, we kind of draw out that vowel, and so it would be a misrepresentation. It's not that it never sounds like that, but it tends to be more of a reduced vowel. But you think of it this way: my first name, the first or full first name, I mean to say, sorry, I can't talk, is Christopher. Christopher. And if you write out the name Christopher according to the traditional spelling, Christopher, right? Think about how the O is pronounced and think about how the E is pronounced. I'll give you a minute. Think about how the O is pronounced in regular speech, regular, speech at regular speed. And how is the E pronounced? Christopher. Both the O and the E reduce. They become reduced vowels. And that's kind of what the schwa is. It represents vowel reduction. But how people pronounce them precisely is going to depend on word environment and the person who's speaking, the rate at which they're speaking, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, and then we got trust and obey. We got a comment here. E equals I and O is O. E equals I. Oh, I think I know what you're getting at there in terms of how we transliterate, what that means. Yeah. So anyways, this word here with me, iti, it involves the preposition et, plus the suffix e, but it becomes iti. Iti is how we're going to say it. With me, iti. Okay. In Arabic, the same kind of thing happens. It's just a different preposition. The word is ma, and this letter here, ain or ayin, is a guttural. One of my former Arabic teachers calls it the choking letter. So this is my. We represent the choking letter ayin or ain with a backwards apostrophe. No problem, Angela. And that just means that sound. Okay, you got to kind of restrict your throat a little bit. My, with me. So in Hebrew, iti. In Arabic, my. Notice that Hebrew's pronouncing on the last syllable, whereas Arabic is pronouncing on the next to last syllable. So now let's put it together. How could we say in my house with me? In my house with me. I'll give you a minute to think about it. In my house with me. I guess im is just used with biblical Hebrew. No, you use im in modern Hebrew as well, but it's not cut and dried. It's not common to say imi in modern Hebrew. Yeah. Yep. But it's not common to use et without a suffix. Et tends to be the form that is used with a suffix. Im tends to be the unsuffixed form in modern Hebrew. Yep. Good question, Jank. All right. So in Arabic, in my house with me, bibeti mai. Bibeti mai. Bibeti. Bibeti mai. Bibeti mai. And I just wanted to quickly shout out the those participating tonight who are members of the channel, Angela and Jank. Thanks so much for being here tonight, and thanks so much for supporting with your membership. Really appreciate it. All right, in my house with me, bebeti mai. And if I wanted to say my dog is in my house with me, kalbi, kalb means dog, kalbi, my dog, kalbi bebeti mai. Kalbi bebeti mai. Kalbi bebeti mai. Okay. And then in Hebrew, Jank's already got it. Beat me to the punch. In my house with me, babayet sheli iti. Babayet sheli iti. Babayet sheli iti. So together, bebeti mai, and babayet sheli iti. Babayet sheli iti. All right, now let's put it all together. My son lives here in my house with me. My son lives here in my house with me. My son lives here in my house with me. Give everybody a minute. I want you to try to think this through on your own, see if you can piece it all together. My son lives here in my house with me. Okay. Arabic. Ibni sakinhon. My son lives here. Ibni sakinhon bebeti mai. Ibni sakinhon bebeti mai. My son lives here in my house with me. And in Hebrew, haben sheli gal po babayet sheli iti. And let's see, Jank got the answer up there. All right, and he wrote haben sheli gal po babayet sheli iti. Yep. Haben sheli gal po babayet sheli iti. All right. Man, look at you guys putting together these very long and hopefully useful sentences. I hope you find them useful. Ibni sakinhon bebeti mai. Haben sheli gal po babayet sheli iti. Nice thing is, if you commit these few sentences to memory, then it's very easy to plug in other nouns. And it's going to be very easy to change it to something like, her son lives in her house with her, right? Things like that. All right, there we go. That is it. This is my house. Okay, hada beiti. Hada beiti, ze habayet sheli. Ze habayet sheli. All right, so yeah, we got through everything really quickly here tonight, quicker than I anticipated are doing that. And so let me, I'm going to take the video off, and then why don't we just give a few minutes for, for questions. If you got to go, go. And if you want to stick around, well, stick around and ask questions. I've got some time. And, I know Milo is unhappy that I am here rather than, babayet shelanu ito, in our house with him. Babayet shelanu ito, or in our house with him. Jank adds, how would you add an additional adjective on haben sheli, right? Like my deadbeat son. Yeah. All right. So If you want to say like, we'll find a a happy word. You could throw it after the whole expression, but remember that the adjective has to be definite. The adjective has to be definite. Okay. So if you wanted to say, um, let's take let's see, my my beautiful dog. My beautiful dog. So I gave you the word, and if you want to write this down, I don't have this in the notes here. I'm going to make a note to myself to add it, to our next lecture. Okay. But if we want to say, what did we say? My beautiful dog um, lives with me here in the house. Okay. So, and I'll do, this is actually great. I'm glad you're asking this because this can help shape our next lesson where we'll start to tie all of the adjectives and nouns that we've been learning. Um, okay, so let's see. Let's come up with a few sentences that would be useful. And if you guys want to put a few sentences in the chat, um, please do it. Okay, so let's say we'll try to use as many words as we can. My beautiful dog lives with me here in my house in Jerusalem. Okay. My beautiful dog lives with me here in my house in Jerusalem. Okay. So in Hebrew, the word for dog is kelev. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen, but the camera's over here. The word for, let me put this, oh yes, and Herman, you mentioned the bibliography. Excellent. Okay, so man, I put a lot of aquaphor on my hands because the air's so dry, and now I'm getting it all over the keys on my keyboard. Aquaphor is wonderful, but it's also very messy. All right, so kelev, kaf lamed beit. Okay, that is the modern Hebrew and frankly biblical Hebrew. Okay, all right, and then in Arabic, the word is going to be kelb, kelb. Okay, and that would turn into hakelev sheli. Okay, and kalbi, kalbi. So you can say, hakelev hayafe sheli, and we can put the adjective before if we want. Hakelev hayafe sheli. Okay. That won't work in Arabic. It works in Hebrew. Hakelev hayafe, the dog, the beautiful one. This is a masculine dog because we're talking about Milo. Hakelev hayafe sheli, the dog, the beautiful, my, or of me. Hakelev hayafe sheli, hakelev hayafe sheli, gal po, lives here, babayet sheli, I'm going back and forth between Arabic and Hebrew, babayet sheli בירושלים. הכלב היפה שלי גר פה איתי בבית שלי בירושלים. Okay? הכלב היפה שלי גר איתי פה בירושלים. You can mix those phrases up however you want. Okay? Whereas in Arabic, it would be just kalbi, not hakelev sheli, right? So kalbi, and then you have to put the the beautiful or sweet dog, and you can say there's different ways to say beautiful, but I can say il hilu, hilu, okay, my sweet dog, kelbi il hilu. Sakin po, not sakin po, I'm speaking Arabic Hebrew. Sakin hon mai bil quds bibeti. Okay? So kalbi il hilu, il hilu. It's hard to say, right? Kalbi il hilu, sakin hon mai bil quds bibeti. Okay? Yep. And so, the more words we add, the longer it gets. Yep. But I love that, my deadbeat son. I kind of set you up for that one, didn't I? Yeah, by saying my son lives here with me, right? All right, excellent. Any other questions? Go ahead and throw them in. And next time, if you want, we can look at some biblical examples too. I'll give you some phrases out of the modern Hebrew Bible, and out of the modern Levantine Arabic Bible, and we can look at instances of those, since many people on this are into the Bible. So, all right, very good. Excellent. So so we'll make a whole bunch. And now, with regard to the bibliography, I have a few books here. Let me remember, I moved everything around, so bear with me one second, and let me get a few things for you just to show you. Okay. Let's see. We got that, and something like, I'm just thinking here for a minute. Man, I gotta refile all my Arabic books, but yeah. Well, we could do this. Did I bring my dictionary? I left the dictionary at home. Yeah, so just a couple of resources here. This is the French edition of that Speaking Arabic book, but they have an English one, right? It's made for English speakers as well. So that's the French edition. And this is a great book that just breaks down, verbs in Arabic. And then, of course, this is a great modern Hebrew, a reference grammar of modern Hebrew. And I forgot who wrote it, actually. Oh, Bolosky wrote this. Yeah, Coffin and Bolosky. There we go. It's up top. Sorry. There you go. Yeah. And that's a fantastic grammar there. So very well written, I find. So anywho, there you have it. So, all right, cool. Well, tomorrow night I'll be back for, we'll probably be doing Ecclesiastes tomorrow night. We haven't done an episode of our Ecclesiastes broadcast. And then later tonight, I know if you're on this broadcast, you're probably not going to be available, which is fine. But I think later on tonight, maybe around, I don't know, 9 o'clock, I'm going to start walking through this book, Jesus's Bible. It's not a religious book. It's a story of how the Hebrew scriptures became a book in the sense that we have it today. Herman, yeah, thank you so much for your kind words. Really appreciate it. All right. So, maybe I'll catch some of you later. And if not, perhaps we'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to spread the word about the channel. Check out Patreon. And, if you feel like it, we're marching towards 4,000 watch hours, which enables me to gain revenue from ads. So if you feel like, listening to a Hebrew lecture or an Aramaic video, pop on YouTube and go to the channel and just let it play while you drift off to sleep. And that'll help